Hello, beautiful people. I realized just before this call that I was cold. And so I dashed upstairs to put this big, warm, fluffy jumper on because I hadn't turned on the heating because all the electricity's doubled today, or not quite doubled. But we're going to get to a sense of why this happens. So often we just think in ourselves, oh my goodness, I am thinking this is the truth, this is how it is, without us recognizing how our nervous system is impacting how we see things. That we think that how we see things is actually the truth. But in reality, our nervous system impacts and changes how we see things. So how we seeing things can actually be a signpost to us that we need to check into our nervous system and regulate, because our nervous system distorts how we're perceiving the world and how we're perceiving ourselves. And then that impacts our behavior, how we treat ourselves, and how we engage with the world. So I want us to have a look at this because I think it's really, really important, because if we can catch what we are thinking and feeling about the world, and we recognizing, oh, that's just my nervous system, and I need to be able to calm myself or activate or get out of immobilization for me to see the world in a different way. And then we feel empowered because we're noticing what's happening and taking action on it, rather than feeling that our nervous system controls us, and that's the reality of what we're seeing in the world. So let's go through the nervous system states. So we have hyperactivation, where our nervous system's going, doot, 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 emergency, we need to either fight or flight. And then there's hypoactivation, where we freeze or we collapse and flop, or we fawn, and people, that is the ventral vagus states, which is loving, connecting. The ventral vagus nerve goes from our eyes, from hearing lovely tones of voice, a smile, the sparkliness, a warm hug. That creates a ventral vagal state, which makes us feel safe and loved and secure and able to relate in a loving way. So if we're not relating in a loving, cherishing way to ourselves and others, and we can go, oh, okay, I need to shift. Now, there are clearly times that we don't want to be loving and sweet, because that can be fawning. We want to be setting boundaries and looking after ourselves and being healthy and discerning of who is in our environment. Let's check out these different, the hypoactivation and the hyperactivation, and see how it changes. If you have any questions, you're welcome to share them in the comments, and I will respond to them afterwards. All right. So hypoactivation is where we just shut down. The dorsal vagus nerve gets activated. So what will happen is our amygdala floods our brain with trauma. Maybe there was a scent or a sound that reminded us of a trauma. It all happens automatically and unconsciously. So we don't have any control over it. We're not choosing to feel this way. I want to slap any person who goes around going, why did you choose to feel that? No, you don't choose to do that. It's automatic. It's natural. That's how the brain works. The amygdala notices something, or something happens in the world. The thalamus lets the amygdala know, oh my goodness, this is going on. The amygdala goes, oh, I remember this trauma. And then our nervous system responds. So if we go into hypoactivation, in that state, the world is two-dimensional. It's gray. We feel overwhelmed. We feel like the world is unsafe, that we can't face things that are going on, that things don't make sense. We can't quite work things out. And we, in that freeze state, we've got no strength or motivation. We're completely immobilized. We're just in a state of shock. And we retreat inwards or just out of our bodies. We might disassociate or go numb and have no connection. We might not be able to feel our pain or hot or cold. So I remember this for me as a kid. Like I was standing in the summer. There was a lot of challenges and fighting in our home. And it just really led me to a complete disconnection of myself. There's so many memories that I have of me just staring into space and no connection. Like in winter, I would walk outside barefoot and not notice that I was completely freezing cold. In summer, I would wear a big jacket on. And I still have that sometimes. Like I was sitting here today and then going, oh, I'm doing cool. I better get myself really warm so that I'm in a better state, because I just didn't notice that. So so it's really essential to get embodied, to do embodied practice, to learn how to do that. And we'll be looking at that in the Tame the Triggers workshop, how to get safe into your body. This is especially hard for folk who are autistic, who don't have that sense of tuning into your body. But with practice, you can learn how to do that. All right. So the next state, the next state we want to look up is flop. In flop, you can see like little animals do it, like a cat's being chased by a mouse and it just goes poof, like it plays dead. And that flop, you know, you do in a state fearing death. And in our world, that can look like depression, hopelessness, a complete inner collapse, where we just have no strength. We lie there immobilized. And we feel like we're not able to function. What's really important for you to do if you do that is to do some somatic therapy to process the trauma that is behind this flop. And, you know, things like brain spotting, EMDR, as well as exercise that gets your body out of that state, getting you to know your inner strength that you can work forward. The next is fawn. So in hypo state, you can go into fawn, and fawn is where you're in this over alert state. You can't relax. You can sense that there's tension. So instead of the tension going, oh, I need to get safe in my own body, we go, oh my God, I need to calm you and look after you so that I don't get hurt. And when we're doing that, we go into a place where we're really small, like a little child, a 5 or 6-year-old. Mommy or daddy's going to scream at me or hurt me. And we feel invisible, like our needs don't matter as long as we can do everything for somebody else. So we submit to other people's needs and wants. And we avoid any punishment or hurt or anger that they might launch at us. So we are overly agreeable. We abandon ourselves. If somebody says, where do you want to go out to dinner? And they're in a bad mood. Oh, anywhere you want to go, even though you know it's not necessarily good for your gut health, or the place that they choose gives you diarrhea or whatever it might be. But you say yes for them because you want to prioritize peace. But in that, you abandon yourself, that people pleasing, appeasing them, placating, calming others. You abandon yourself and your own needs to make yourself safe. In some situations, in an abusive relationship, it makes sense. But as a lifetime thing, it is not healthy for you. And I don't want you doing that. So when I'm running this Tame the Triggers workshop, this for me is not about taming our triggers so that we are nice and appeasing other people. Taming the triggers is being able to regulate our nervous system so we feel calm, clear, and aware to take action and look after our own needs, to fill ourselves up so we're not abandoning ourselves. I often say to clients, if you're over there for them, who is home for you? Because there's nobody to have a relationship with you with if both of you are over there. Who's home for you? When we've learned to people please to make other people happy, we often abandon ourselves, and then our emotional well-being depends on their emotional state. If they're happy, we can be happy. If they're angry, we're scared. We want to get to the place where we are loving ourselves no matter what. Because if we don't do that, we get into toxic relationships and have this sort of Stockholm syndrome where we can't leave somebody who's abusing us because we're so fearful of the world that we might have more of that. You need to really know that you matter. And as you are growing out of this, gaining that capacity to say no, really tuning into yourself of what do you like? What are you interested in? What do you love? I worked with somebody whose sister always got her needs met. Big, expensive things like horse riding. And then they would say to her, oh, no, you can't do horse riding too because we just don't have enough money. You can stay home in town. And she shared in a video when I was asking her about our work together, she said, I didn't even know what my favorite color was. I was just so looking after other people. I didn't know what I liked. So you really need to get to know what your interests are and love yourself. And it might take a while having a relationship in therapy or being around a group of people who are working on themselves so you can see what it looks like. And instead of people pleasing, love yourself and cherish yourself. All right. So that is the hypo word and hypo situation. I will come back and look at do I look at the comments now? No, I'm going to come back and I will respond to the comments after I've finished, okay? Then we look at the hyperactivation, okay? So hyperactivation is that high alert state. So first, let's look at flight. Oh, my brain's jumping around. So this is me in hyperactivation because that's exactly what happened in a hyperactivation. So I'm going to just test with all of you. So let's take a breath together. Can you see straight away your state of being just with a breath changes? Now I'm going to smile into you and I'm going to smile into me too. And as I'm smiling into you, let that smile in and smile into yourself too. Okay. So I want you to smile, those kind eyes from a beautiful soul who just cares for you. I want you to see the wrinkles. I don't have buttocks, so thankfully you can see the wrinkles. I want you to see the smile. I want you to hear my tone of voice. And I want you to breathe that in and just feel in your heart, like smile into your heart and just feel things calming for a moment. So that's the ventral vagal state. This is the state where you feel safer. You feel more loved and cherished. It changes how you see the world. Just notice for a moment, the world seems like, obviously, since we've been talking, the earth has got darker, but it looks brighter when you're in that ventral vagus state. Like things sparkle more. They seem brighter. You see more beauty. You hear sound differently. You can feel what you're grateful for, and there's a calmness. And in this state, you're more able to look for solutions because you're not immobilized or so stressed that you can't function. So this is the state that you want to get to in your nervous system. And we're going to be looking at that in the Tame the Triggers workshop. And then after that, for those of you, after we finish the Tame the Triggers, for those of you who want to go even deeper into this, we look at that in the 10-week Overcome Emotional Abuse program that looks at safety and self-love and healing and growing this capacity inside of you so that you can access the state at any point. This is not like a positive bypassing state where you're like, nothing that I'm feeling, dismissing it. No, I'm not feeling angry. No, I'm not feeling scared. I'm totally fine. It's not this high-pitched, like exaggerated fakeness. It's a grounded love. You can see as soon as I do it, I lean in and I go grounded in my body. I'm really feeling my body. I feel like under my toes, there's like a little excitement and love and care. There's a genuine empathy and connection. And that's what we want you to create for yourself and within your family. But when you are in that hyper or hypo state, you can't connect as well because it's distorting how you see. And that's what we do in the Tame the Triggers, is really getting you to fill yourself up with love so that you're more able to respond in a healthy, connected way that then also co-regulates those around you just naturally through your breath, through your safety, through your care. And then you can hold the space with love, not repression or rejection. So a few things that you can do just to gain that for yourself is to do more art, creativity, hug trees, be in nature, bring more goodness to your day. So you're pausing to see the things that you're grateful for. And then also practicing empathy towards yourself and validation of what you're feeling. So that you're really meeting what you're feeling with proactive love and care. All right, so let's leap into, now that we're more calmer and connected, let's leap into the hyperactivation, okay? So hyperactivation, we could either go into being in flight, like I'm out of here, or fight, I'm going to get you, or funny, let me put you down so that I feel a bit more better about myself. All right, so I'll do funny first. So in funny, you see people who become emotionally abusive, mocking other people, shaming other people for their own pleasure and power. There are people who joke, but in a ventral vagal state where nobody gets hurt. That's very different. That's not what we're talking about here. Where the joke is something about, something that makes everybody laugh. That might be about capitalist system, where the jokes are about not punching down and hurting people for your own power. So when we're doing that, punching down other people who are hurting more than us, that's to raise ourselves up with a fake sense of power. And that's not healthy for us. So you can notice if I'm being cruel in my humor, it's probably because I'm hyperactivated and trying to gain some power in my life. And there is a healthier way to do it. You can tame the triggers and look after yourself and learn how to get safe rather than getting power in a toxic way. All right, let's look at flight. I know for me, I just want to go back to that funny. I lived with my father doing that. So he would do torturous things like put a snake outside the back door, like an 18-foot snake, just thick, huge snake, and then call me, and I didn't know it was there. And then I would stand on it and scream because I thought I was going to get killed, and they would all be laughing because they'd hidden around the side of the building and then called me from outside urgently. So I ran down going, what's wrong? And then I stood on a snake. He got such pleasure out of just demoralizing me and hurting me. I'm sure other people listening, you've had that too. That emotional abuse comes from other people who are hyperactivated and stressed, and they just spread that stress. We want to stop spreading the stress and stop making other people hyperactivated and calm ourselves and be loving, so we create a safer, loving world where there aren't Putins on earth who want to bully other people or who are in fear and so act out of in a dominance state to push other people down to gain a bit of power. All right, so let's look at flight. Flight is where you have a sense of fear and you're anxious, you're having panic attacks, and how that changes the world. So your body gets activated. How you see the world is separate. You feel it like it's a danger. You are suspicious and paranoid. So things that you might say in yourself are, something's going to go wrong. They don't like me. They're going to get me. And you become in your body more skittish, nervous, really cautious. And that's where things like claustrophobia and various other things arise, because your nervous system is hyperactivated. And if you are too hyperactivated, you get hypersensitive, you get social anxiety. But on the other side of that, it's not only scared of other people, but you're scared of getting it wrong in yourself. So you become more perfectionist and critical of yourself, and you put yourself down. So when you're putting yourself down, instead of going, yeah, that's the truth, that I'm useless because I didn't get that right. No, you can go, oh, if I'm talking to myself like that, it's because I'm hyperactivated. So I need to calm myself so that I can see myself with a loving, kind lens, because that's all that I've ever deserved. So when you're doing that, you can ground yourself, love yourself, come into your body, notice what you're feeling. And we'll be teaching more of that in the Tame the Triggers workshop. I think the link is above. I will post it if it's not. Then if, for example, you don't have that hyperactivation and going into flight, you can often stay in abusive relationships because you're just numb to it. You need a little bit of that. You need a little bit of awareness, caution, that's checking out, that discernment of who is healthy and who is not. Because if you don't have that knowing, you don't have a boundary to toxic relationships or abusive work situations, because you just allow yourself to be trampled on like a doormat and you're just living a numb life. You actually need a little bit of that flight hyperactivation. So you're like, no, I'm not going to take that. I don't deserve that. No, that's not happening. You need a little bit of that. But when it goes too much, then it makes you think other people don't like you, think the world is not safe, and that you are useless. So the moment that you notice those thoughts, you can go, oh, okay, I'm activated. If you notice, oh, I keep staying in abusive relationships, I need more of a sense of, this isn't good for me. This is dangerous. This is not healthy. You need to learn to discern the red flags in people so you can catch them and go, oh God, this is dangerous for me. But when we've been treated badly, we often just think this way of being, that you're not worth anything, that you're not lovable, that you don't deserve goodness. Then people do that and you just think, well, this is life. This is what I deserve. No, you need a little bit that goes, I'm not going to treat myself like that anymore. And I'm not going to allow anybody else to treat myself like that. You don't deserve that. All right, finally, let's look at fight. So when you become hyperactivated, when your nervous system gets hyperactivated and you go into fight, you get angry, frustrated, you cause arguments, you want to dominate other people, you see everything as a competition or a comparison. You're looking at other people, they're doing better in their life, or I'm better than them. You have this strong need to be recognized and respected, and you demand it of other people, that how they should speak to you. You get more controlling of other people. And in that state, you're really driven, your muscles are primed, you are activated, you are ready to cause drama and chaos and make things how you want them to be. In that state, some people get abusive and angry, that they feel that they've got a right to take their anger out on other people. And that comes from in childhood, where we were just taught children should be seen and not heard. It's fine to beat a woman, or it's fine to beat a man, whatever it was in your family. In my family, boys could get angry, girls couldn't. Boys, it was understandable that they took their anger out on others, and we should just understand them. The boys need to, or girls, whoever is being abusive, look at what is the belief system, the toxic belief system that is enabling that behavior? There is a book called The Freedom Project that helps. In that case, it was written by a probation officer for men who were abusive, that looks at why do they bully, why do they abuse, and how their mind needs to shift so they know that that's not healthy. So if you've got locked into that fight nervous system state, you want to learn to get safe. You want to learn to control that impulse, change your belief systems so that you know that everybody in the world is deserving of love and care and goodness. Now, on the other side of that, there's some people who don't get angry at all, who don't know how to set boundaries, who are a doormat. And then you probably feel resentful and bitter about other people because your needs aren't getting noticed. And then you probably do passive aggressive stuff where you will force them to get angry and then go, but what did I do? I was just doing this and this and this. Actually, a healthy no is really good for you to say, no, this is what I want. So you need to notice your yes and no. Notice what is good for yourself. So you are not abandoning you and you're sharing, hey, this is what I feel and this is what I need. So that you honor yourself and you catch your feelings when they're small of going, oh, this is what is right for my body. So so that is the beautiful array of our nervous system. For those of you who haven't signed up to come and join the Tame the Triggers workshop, I'll put the link below. It won't show up everywhere. If it doesn't show up for you, then let me know and I'll put it, I will send it to you. Just send me a message on Facebook on this video. Just click above and send me a message and I will send it to you. So what is the one that you go into the most? Do you go into hyperactivation, which is fight, flight, or funny? Or do you go into hypoactivation, which is freeze, flop, and fawn? And what is the one thing from today that you're taking away that you can now put into practice that you go, oh, that's where I was, and this is what I'm going to do for myself? For those of you who are wanting to learn those skills, to fill yourself up with love, to gain that ventral vagal state where you are safe, you're seeing the world in a healthy way, come and join the Tame the Triggers, because that's what we're doing in the whole series, growing the belief in yourself that you deserve to be treated with love and care and goodness. All right. Hi, everybody. Oh, yes. I know for sure that I do most of them too. Okay. So I'm not going to read out anybody's names because this is going to be a recording too. So I don't want to share any names. So I do those. Yes, it's really an eye-opener because we get to see what we're doing. So somebody said, I definitely hypo, I freeze and fawn. And my mother told me to choose how I feel, or told me I choose how I feel. Yes. Why are you doing that? You choose how you feel. No, it's automatic. I miss out on feeling thirst and I don't hydrate myself. Yes. And I often notice I'm dizzy and finally realize I must be dehydrated. I'd love to get in touch with my body feeling. So what's really helpful is to get support. If you haven't had that nourishing, nurturing support in childhood. So there was one lady I worked with who has autism, and she just had no idea how to tune in and notice her body symptoms. So she set an alarm every hour of checking in. And then she would go, am I hungry? Am I thirsty? What's my temperature like? And, like I've done it tonight. My hands are freezing. That's also partly that I keep going, let me see how long I can last without putting the heating on. But I also should just go, all right, I can put a heated blanket on or a hot water bottle. I don't need to sit cold. But I was just going, I want to get all the words right for tonight. That became my priority. So I guess in a way I was fawning for everybody here too. But I also feel this sense of delight of I want to serve all of you and I want to make a difference to all of you. So, I want to show up for you. I know that I always like these videos to stay for like 10, 15 minutes. I've gone a tad over, but I want to finish going through the comments of everybody. So interesting that post-COVID system is an attack on the nervous system. Yes, exactly. So you go into those states so often, and most frequently, I expect in COVID, you go into flight and you go into freeze. That's my expectation, where you have more anxiety that the world is not safe, and you get overwhelmed easily, so you can't function. That's my guess. So the aches in the muscles and the brain fog is all to do with the nervous system. So I need to be aware of how my nervous system is working and look through the fog. Yes. So it really helps that when you catch those things, instead of thinking, oh, this is just me, this is just my personality, of going, no, this is my nervous system impacting me. And then these are the things that I can do for myself to shift into a healthier state. Okay. That's amazing. So somebody says, I feel calm and happy and my heart is glowing. So when you do that, so I'll give you an example. I was in a state of feeling, just so stuck. I was being mocked. So they were in a hyperactivated state, putting me down, mocking me, shaming me. And I first confronted it. So my activation was enough to stand up for myself. Bingo, healthy. You're not right to just tolerate shit. And I went up into the bathroom and I stood in front of the mirror and I empathized with myself. It makes sense that you feel like that. You are so worthy of being treated well. I love you so much. And then I started crying because I was being loved so much by me. So even if you're in unhealthy situations, you can calm yourself by just going, I'm just popping off to the loo. Look in the mirror and talk to yourself. If, for example, you're in public and you can't do it, I've done it with my phone. If I'm in public and I'm in like a bathroom stall, of just looking at myself and going, hey, I love you. It's going to be okay. Smiling into myself so that it activates that ventral vagal capacity. All right. Great. So somebody said, I think I feel about the same amount depending on who else is involved. I don't like myself when I go into fight and feel so ashamed. So what we really need to do is, instead of shaming ourselves, because then we're going into that mocking, shaming energy, and then it carries on the hyperactivation. We can then smile into ourselves and empathize with ourselves and say, it makes sense that our nervous system got activated, we went into fight, and we need to repair. So we can go, hey, I shouted at you then, and that wasn't okay for me to do. I'm sorry that I said that. And we can go through the apology. I care about you. This is what I did. This is how it made you feel. I was wrong. These are the skills that I'm learning to make it better. And how can I make amends to you so you know that I love you? These skills are going to take me a while to do because I didn't have these skills in childhood and my brain is wired. And I'm going to do my best to overcome that so that you can get treated with the love and the care and the kindness that you deserve. So we're all going to get it wrong at times. We're not perfect. Nobody's expecting you to be perfect, but we need to understand what we're doing so we can change. Hey, flight. Oh yes, so hard with COVID. Yes, breathing is so important. You could see as we were breathing with that ventral vagal state, just how much that soothing breath is. I am doing a practice every day of pausing and breathing until I can feel that ventral vagal state. And I used to do it with my daughter every day. Now she's moved out and she's at university. But for 20 minutes a day, I would hug her and smile into her. I literally set an alarm because she was in a state of anxiety and flight. And her brilliant doctor said her soul quivers. She's been, as a soul, born into a quivering body. And she needs a hug for 20 minutes a day for all her life to regulate herself. So I literally, for her childhood, set my alarm for 20 minutes a day and hugged her until her face was glowing and she was calm, and then she could go out in the day. She doesn't remember it at all. Not a single bit. All those 20 minutes, hundreds of them. She doesn't remember it at all. But I can imagine her nervous system does. Yes, so that's so important. I think you've really made such a great point, is that we need to be aware of it. So, I used to set my alarm for 15 minutes when I was practicing, noticing what am I feeling now and empathize with what I'm feeling. And it takes that sort of, we will just forget because our lives are habitual. We'll forget what we're doing and our nervous system will take over because we'll get triggered by things that are happening automatically that we don't know. And then suddenly we're feeling a certain way and then we get activated. So we need to check in all through the day. So maybe setting an alarm or sending yourself a programmed email going, hey, how are you? How's your body? How are you feeling? It's really essential to do that. All right. So for those of you who have signed up to the Tame the Triggers workshop, I can't wait for you to come and join us. If you haven't, I've just put the little link there. It's restoring.love/workshop. We would love to have you. It's going to make such a difference in helping you to fill yourself up with love. When you fill yourself up with love, you have more ventral vagal capacity. Once you've done that, you see the world differently, you get triggered less, and you take more actions to love yourself. You're also going to learn how to respond to the different feelings inside of you that when you're feeling in that state of fight or flight or funny, you're going to learn to be able to separate from them and relate to them rather than the nervous system just taking over you and changing your perception. So we'd love to have you. I can see a couple of people have joined while we've been chatting here, and I'm so excited to have you. Some of you are coming back again, and it makes such a difference doing it once or twice. And then after that, in a couple of weeks' time, I'll be sharing about the Overcome Emotional Abuse program for those of you who want to go loads more deeply into it all. That's so sweet. So somebody said, it's beautiful. What you've just said, Zaria, is beautiful, and I feel moved by it. I'll make a real effort to remember this. I will upload the video, and you'll be able to watch it anytime that you want. For those of you who are in Restore, and for those of you who are in the Overcome Emotional Abuse program and in Tame the Triggers, it will be uploaded into your hub so that you can watch this again and again. All right, beautiful souls, we've gone on for a lot longer than I like to do videos for, because otherwise when people come back and watch them, they're like, oh my goodness, it's so long. But come and join us and Tame the Triggers. I open those on Monday for a warm-up week. It's delicious. It's 10 to 15 minutes a day. And we would love to have you with us. All right, sending you love, and we'll see you in Tame the Triggers.